Recently, I've been thinking about the story of Jujutsu Kaisen. In my last video, though I was partially trolling, I did kinda diss the writing of the story. And now I'm trying to think back as to what the main point of the story was, what the big goal is. That brings me back to the first couple of episodes and chapters where Yuji says he wants to help as many people as he can before he dies. Looking back now, I can tell that it should have been obvious where the story was going to go off that line alone. But at the time, I didn't. I just kept watching mindlessly. I enjoyed it for sure, but when it came time to recommend the series to a friend, I struggled. It was very hard to describe what I enjoyed about the anime without saying the animation and the fights are amazing and the characters, they're cool. Because the story in the first season was whatever in my opinion. It became especially hard when I started reading the manga. I no longer have a crutch to say that the animation is good. It kind of forced me to look deeper and pay more attention as I read, cause now I'm starting to question why I even like it. Of course, the answer was right in my face the whole time. The characters. Jujutsu Kaisen is a character-driven story. A story driven by the emotion and the ideals of its characters rather than a story focused on an intricate plot. With plot-driven stories, you often get a very cold-cut goal from the get-go. Like one of my favorite series, One Piece. The entire goal of the series is to find the One Piece and become the Pirate King, and the whole story is based off those very clear goals. But with Jujutsu Kaisen, it's a little different. We are initially shown that Yuji must consume all of Sukuna's fingers, but it's not exactly obvious as to what will happen once that goal is met. Then you have to add on what Yuji wants as well. Yuji is a complex character, which may be hard to realize by most. From the start, he is portrayed as any typical shonen protagonist, a happy-go-lucky guy with a good sense for fight. But when you look deeper, this is not entirely true. In the beginning, it's so easy to miss that Yuji actually doesn't have that many friends. I know you're probably thinking back to the two students that were in that paranormal activity club, but they had almost zero information on Yuji in his life, and he only joined the club to leave early to see his dying grandfather. With such circumstances, it's kinda hard to understand why Yuji sustains such a goofy and happy nature. Once again, you could argue that this is just how he is. He's just a normal shonen protagonist who follows the same personality. But I'd say otherwise. In the first couple of chapters, I think Yuji is putting on a facade, a personality in which he only shows the world, holding back his true feelings. And with the death of his grandfather and his passing words, Yuji's facade breaks and he is able to gain another. Like anyone, Yuji grieves the death of a loved one, yet unlike most, he is left with a quote-unquote curse. His grandfather tells him to help as many people as he can, leaving him with something to strive towards. And like the great video by Ohara as well, Yuji gains a horrible hero complex. On the inside, Yuji is just a teenage boy who's lost even inside himself, but now he must put on this front like he's Superman, helping anyone and everyone he can. Unfortunately, in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, such a thing could never happen. Jujutsu sorcerers aren't heroes saving the population, they are hunters to the beasts that are curses. Their job is to exterminate, which sometimes collides head-on when a sorcerer wants to play hero, as we see with Yuji in the early arcs. Matter of fact, the whole series. Not only this, Yuji decided to begin his hero's journey by eating Sukuna's fingers, making him Sukuna's vessel. We should all know by now that Sukuna is clear of anything positive towards Yuji. He wishes for nothing but his self and world destruction, a stark contrast between Yuji's goal of peace. With all that said, we follow Yuji's journey into a twisted world with his biggest enemy laying weak in his own body as he plays the role of a hero. But like anything built off a weak base, all it takes is a couple storms to knock it down. I believe Yuji's false hero character shines the most when everything goes to the worst, which is why Shibuya is the best arc. Though beforehand Yuji's beliefs have been questioned heavily, right here, right now, we see how foolish he truly was. We see him become the force he wanted to stop. Though it was Sukuna and technically not him, it is Yuji's fault for becoming unconscious and allowing Sukuna to run wild and destroy Shibuya. But to him, it was as if he did it all himself. Then in the Culling Games, we see how this affects him in the long run. He's become accepting of the Shibuya incident and gains what seems like a self-loathing attitude. Everything feels like it's his fault and he is accepting it, which I believe will lead to his demise. So it's simple. This story is the journey of a false hero. When the story is framed like this, I can clearly see why I find so much enjoyment in it. Watching the deconstruction of a character's beliefs and how they react to it will always hit the spot for me. I mean, time and time again, it has led to me liking my favorite series. With Vagabond, Musashi had this idea of what strength is, but over and over again, the idea is challenged, causing him to grow and learn as he finds what strength truly is. It's a wonderful premise which I wish was marketed more, but that unfortunately would spoil too much. In spite of that, the story also reminds me of the works of Togashi. If you were paying attention earlier, I did say sorcerers are hunters to the beasts that are curses. This wasn't just me flaunting my metaphorical skills, but it was also to hint similarities between Akutami and Togashi's work. Higa Akutami has claimed in the past that he takes inspiration from Hunter x Hunter, which is evident by the power system, the sorcerers, and the cruel nature of the world. But what I recently realized is that Jujutsu Kaisen and Yu Yu Hakusho are both character-driven stories with a similar structure, which leads to both Yusuke and Yuji following the same character archetype. I made a whole video trying to analyze Yusuke's character, so you should check that out as well. But just like Yusuke, Yuji is a lost teenager with no ambition who ends up joining an organization, and since they have no ambition, there is no clear end goal for them to chase. So throughout the story, we simply follow where their occupation takes them. The main difference between the two is that Yuji has a facade to uphold, while Yusuke struggles more to understand himself. I'm very surprised that not a single soul has spoken up about this similarity between the two stories. Yuji and Yusuke are of the same mold, but the two go down slightly different routes. To conclude, JJK is known for its next level fight scenes, but in the characters and the paths they go down is where it shines brightly. I didn't even get to mention characters like Megumi, Gojo, Maki, and their wonderful writing throughout the series. But like I always like to say, the action in the fight may be flawlessly imaginative and well choreographed, but what really matters is the clash of the characters. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me who are your favorite characters in JJK, and what are some other character-driven stories that you like.